So, what we're going to be talking about today is this idea of objects. And we've mentioned object oriented programming before. The, the real sort of core of what we're getting at here in this course is really thinking about, like, again, becoming lazier programmers. And object oriented programming is a way to really become not only lazy but also more effective. What it does is it takes the functionality of a function, something that does something, and the data that you would think of as inside of a variable, and it wraps the two of them up. So you get something that you can reuse over and over again, and both the data and the functionality are wrapped up into one thing. So we're going to be spending a couple videos going over how to do this. And then, at first it might seem a little bit, why would I bother? It seems like so much extra work. I promise you, the payoff is great. It makes your code way more flexible, way easier to get it doing weird and funky things. And it also makes things cleaner and allows you to do a lot more with a lot less. So, what we're going to start out doing is we're going to just go with that bouncing ball example again, right? But instead of doing it as a function, I'm going to do it as an object, okay? So normally when we had like our bouncing ball, it looked like this, right? Where we had um, something that was we had direction, we had speed, right? Here we've got it bouncing around. It changes color off of every wall. Um, and inside of here we update its position. We check to see if it's run into a wall or not. And then the other thing that we do is we actually draw it on screen. And that's the three fundamental things in our bouncing ball, right? Those are the things that we absolutely need to have. Draw it, update its position, check to make sure that it hasn't hit a wall. That's it, right? So, and then we've got a couple of things here that do this, right? And then we also saw how you can do this with functions, where you could abstract some of this, where you draw the ball, and then maybe you check for collisions, right? Um, so we can we can run this one too, right? Same idea. We've got two of them, right? But we just call this function twice, right? But we still have a lot of extra code here for updating the position, checking for collisions, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap all this up into one self-contained thing called an object. Object is made up of, it's kind of like the platonic ideal of programming in a lot of ways, in the sense that there's something called a class, and inside of there is something called a constructor. The class defines and gives shape and identifies all the data that's going to be inside of an object. So inside of our ball class, we're going to have some attributes for, some data in there about like how big the ball is, how fast it moves, where does it start on screen, maybe its color. And then the functionality of it will be drawing it, updating its position, checking if it's bouncing into a wall, right? And so the constructor is a part of the class that when you first create an object in your code, the constructor is called, and the constructor instantiates the object. It gives it all of its attributes and everything. And every time you call or create an object, I should say, you get a new, you call a new constructor. And so we'll see how we can vary that and make all sorts of different sort of like funky things, as opposed to just sort of like two balls bouncing around like this. So that's a bit of a background on like what an object is. In the next video, we'll start and we'll create one that just replicates that bouncing ball sketch and gets it moving around on screen.